Did you know that 1 in 3 men say they feel lonely most or all of the time? Yet almost none talk about it? He walks into the room, shoulders squared, expression calm. To everyone else, he's fine, strong, independent, stoic. But no one sees the silent war he's fighting. No one hears the thoughts that claw at him every night before sleep, because male loneliness isn't always loud. It doesn't always shatter. Sometimes it just erodes quietly, invisibly, until one day, the man who had it all together doesn't even recognize himself anymore. Why does this happen? And more importantly, can it be stopped before it's too late? Male loneliness isn't loud. It doesn't always look like a man crying in the dark or visibly breaking down. Often, it looks like routine. Going to work, hitting the gym, small talk at lunch, a nod, a smile, a laugh that doesn't quite reach the eyes. He keeps moving through the motions because stopping might mean facing the emptiness. And that's more terrifying than anything else. From childhood, boys are handed a blueprint of what it means to be a man. Don't cry, be tough, handle it yourself. These words become gospel, etched into their identity like scars. Vulnerability becomes the enemy. Emotions become something to be managed, not expressed. And by the time they're men, they've mastered silence. Not because they don't feel, but because they were never taught how to feel safely. So what happens? They stop sharing. They stop reaching out. They become experts at appearing okay even when they're drowning. And because no one checks in, the belief sets in. Maybe no one really cares. Maybe this is just how it is. Maybe loneliness is part of manhood. And that right there is the most dangerous lie of all. This loneliness isn't about being physically alone. It's about emotional disconnection. A man can have a wife, kids, co-workers, and still feel like no one knows the real him. He can be admired and yet unseen, surrounded, yet completely isolated. It's a loneliness that builds slowly, layer by layer, until it becomes unbearable. The irony? Men crave connection just as deeply as anyone else. But many don't know how to build it. Most male friendships are forged through activity, not intimacy. Watching sports, playing games, working side by side. Rarely do they ask the deeper questions. What scares you? What do you regret? What are you carrying that no one sees? Those conversations are rare, and they shouldn't be. As men age, this gap widens. Careers demand more time. Friendships drift apart. Families grow up. And suddenly, the quiet becomes louder. Studies have shown that male friendships often deteriorate after their 20s. And by the time many men reach middle age, they find themselves alone, with no one to talk to about what really matters. And here's the tragedy. Loneliness doesn't just hurt the soul, it breaks the body. According to Harvard research, chronic loneliness increases the risk of heart disease, dementia, and even death. In fact, loneliness is now considered more dangerous than obesity or smoking. Yet no one's talking about it, especially not the men living with it. One study from the UK revealed that men are far less likely to admit feeling lonely than women. Why? Because admitting loneliness feels like failure, like weakness, like letting someone down. So they bury it, hide it, try to outwork it, outdrink it, outplay it. But it never really goes away. The impact spills into every area of life. Romantic relationships suffer. Parenting becomes distant. Mental health deteriorates. Substance abuse rises. Suicide rates climb. And no one sees it coming because he never said a word, because he didn't think he could. And we, as a society, enable this silence. We praise the quiet achiever, the unshakable man, the one who never complains. But what we're really praising is emotional suppression, and it's killing us. Let's be honest. Most men were never given the emotional tools to navigate life's deeper struggles. They weren't taught how to grieve, how to process rejection, how to cope with loss. They were taught how to push forward, even if it meant breaking inside. And the result? Generations of men carrying wounds that have never healed. But here's where it gets even darker. Loneliness doesn't just isolate men from others. It isolates them from themselves. Over time, they stop checking in with their own emotions. They forget what joy feels like, what deep connection feels like. And in that numbness, apathy grows. Depression sets in. Hope fades. So how do we break the cycle? It starts by understanding that loneliness is not weakness. It's a signal. A cry from the soul saying, I need connection. And answering that call requires courage. Emotional courage. The kind that lets a man say, I'm not okay, without shame. The kind that reaches out, not just to be helped, but to help others feel less alone too. We must redefine masculinity, not as toughness, but as wholeness, not as silence, but as self-awareness. Real strength isn't found in isolation. It's forged in connection, in truth, in community. And it begins with one conversation, one moment of honesty, one decision to stop pretending and start healing. Men need more than surface-level friendships. They need safe spaces to be vulnerable, to cry, to question, to struggle out loud, to be held, not fixed, to be heard, not judged. Because when men feel safe enough to open up, something incredible happens. They remember who they are beneath the armor. In Japan, there's a term, hikikomori, used to describe people, often men, who completely withdraw from society. They stay in their rooms for years, sometimes decades, disconnected from the world. Experts call it a mental health crisis. But what if it's just the extreme end of male loneliness? What if it's not a cultural anomaly, but a warning sign? Even in the West, men are increasingly retreating into video games, into work, into substances, into silence, anything to avoid facing the void inside. But the truth is, the only way out is through the pain, through the vulnerability, through the messy, uncomfortable process of reconnecting with others and with themselves. Therapists are beginning to see more men walk through their doors, and that's a good sign. It means the stigma is slowly breaking. It means some are choosing courage over conformity. But it's not enough. We need a culture shift. One where fathers teach their sons that feelings are not the enemy. One where men hold space for each other, not just in crisis, but every day. Imagine a world where men could say, I feel lost, and not be shamed for it. Where they could say, I miss my friends, or I don't know who I am anymore, and be met with empathy, not awkwardness. That's the world we need to build. Because male loneliness isn't just a personal problem, it's a collective one. The more men feel isolated, the more society suffers. Emotionally unavailable fathers raise emotionally confused sons. Burned out partners create emotionally starving relationships. Lonely leaders make fear-based decisions. It affects all of us. But there's hope. Change doesn't require everyone, just a few brave ones to start. Be that one. Be the friend who checks in. Be the brother who listens. Be the man who speaks up. Not because you have to, but because others need to see that it's possible. And if you're listening to this right now, feeling like I'm describing you, you're not broken. You're not weak. You're not alone. You've just been silent for too long. And today, right now, you can begin again. You can reach out. You can reconnect. You can heal. It won't be easy. The armor you've worn has served you for years, but it's time to lay it down. To choose authenticity over image, connection over isolation, truth over performance. Because the world doesn't need more strong, silent types. It needs whole men, connected men, real men. And maybe, just maybe, that starts with you. So hit that subscribe button because the journey doesn't end here. It's just getting started.